Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching Primetime Asia on NewsX World. Let's first take a check of the headlines at this hour. Hong Kong authorities report that 128 are now dead with 79 injured, including 12 firefighters, one seriously in a high-rise apartment complex fire in Tai Po. Rescue efforts are complete, but around 200 residents remain unaccounted for. Imran Khan's party alleges he's being tortured, kept in solitary confinement, but Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's aide insists he is fit and fine. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte will remain in detention at the International Criminal Court after appeals judge reject a request to release him on health grounds. Sri Lanka deploys troops as flood waters rise. Death toll hits 56, with another 21 people missing. Sri Lanka is currently experiencing the northeast monsoon season, but rainfall has intensified due to a cyclone. India sends relief to Sri Lanka under Operation Sagar Bandhu, but Prime Minister Modi offers condolences on X. He says, guided by India's neighbourhood first policy and vision Mahasagar, India continues to stand firmly with Sri Lanka in its hour of need. Rescuers step up recovery operations as Southeast Asia floods. Death toll reaches 321. Thailand, Indonesia and Malaysia reel under floods. The Jordanian Foreign Ministry confirmed that 2 Jordanians were killed after being illegally recruited to fight for the Russian army, with spokesperson Fouad Majli warning that such recruitment violates Jordanian and international law. The ministry has urged citizens to report recruitment attempts and has called on Russia to halt Jordanian enlistments. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei criticizes the Trump administration, calling it unworthy of contact or cooperation with Tehran. He also denied rumors that Iran had sent messages to Washington. And moving on to the top focus story on Primetime Asia, Hong Kong authorities have confirmed that the deadly high-rise fire, which claimed the lives of at least 128 people, began on protective netting and the lower floors and spread rapidly then through inflammable styrofoam boards and bamboo scaffolding. Security Chief Chris Tang stated that the fire quickly ascended, fueled by burning debris. As of now, 5 individuals have been arrested, including 2 directors from Willpower Architects and 3 senior staff members from Prestige Construction and Engineering. Officials also revealed that fire alarms were malfunctioning during the incident and promised strict enforcement action. In response to the tragedy, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Hong Kong's Chief Executive John Lee have expressed their condolences, while a full criminal investigation is currently underway. Let's listen in to Hong Kong's Secretary and Director of Fire.
最初起火嘅位置係宏昌閣低層外邊嘅嗰啲嘅圍網，其後咧係由於燃燒咗嗰啲發泡膠板，火勢迅速咧係向上蔓延，伸延到去多個嘅樓層，並喺短時間內咧係波及咗宏福苑其他6座嘅樓宇。大火咧係引燃咗貼喺嗰啲窗門上邊嘅發泡膠板，令到玻璃爆破。 令到火勢咧係急速增強，並且迅速蔓延到咧入到室內。要強調，如果用直升機喺呢個火警裏邊掟水彈，如果喺個樓宇嘅上空投擲水彈，啲水係唔會係不會係會落入個火場裏邊，只會淋咗去一個大廈嘅外。
Let's now welcome Satoru Nagao, who is a fellow at the Hudson Institute, joining us live from Tokyo. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Nagao, and thanks for joining us here at NewsX World. Now, some of the causes have started coming out, including that of the use of bamboo scaffolding and Chinese nets. But let's talk about a larger question. Is the fire and the consequences of it and the rising death toll posing a threat now for China's grip on the city, especially when local elections are upcoming in December?
Election itself, in case of China, there is no problem even in the Hong Kong, because recently there is no criticize against a government side, so that's why this is not affected. But in this case, the security level is a matter, because if the bamboo stage is a cause of the problem to spread the fire, and this is not only the reason because the cause bamboo itself do not create the fire. So there's a possibility the cigarette the workers are using and it could be something cause of fire. After that, this bamboo stage is a cause of spread rapidly. So that's why the what is the rule in the Hong Kong, because the crisis management level or safety standard, these are the job of the local government, and after that, of course, a company should follow this. These are the one by one they need to check. And in this case, that's why if the governmental side has some problem of the safety measures, of course, there's a possibility it will be a risk for the government. But under the China's rule, one country, one system rule currently, instead of the two systems. So that's why, in this case, election is not meaning there is a chance to criticize the government. So that's why the election itself is not related with this issue, I think.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us now here on NewsX World. And with that, viewers, we shift our focus. Now, India's Defense Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh has said that India will continue defense cooperation with Russia while steadily growing partnerships with the United States. Speaking at FICCI's 98th annual general meeting, he emphasized that India follows strategic autonomy, sourcing equipment from multiple countries, including the United States, Russia, and France. Singh further noted that over 1.33 lakh crore Indian rupees have been spent this year, with nearly 88% involving domestic suppliers, and that future foreign purchases will mostly involve joint production within India. The leader also highlighted the ministry's plan to seek a 20% increase in the defense budget to meet India's modernization needs. The focus remains on boosting domestic production while maintaining selective imports and international cooperation. Madhav Nalapat, who is the director of editorial at TSG, is now joining us live from New Delhi. I extend you a very warm welcome, sir, here at NewsX World, and thank you for joining us. Now, India has clearly maintained its autonomy and its position of siding with peace, not being neutral or indifferent, but continuing to side with peace.
Look, I'd like to point out to a facet of the visit of President Putin to India. He's a welcome guest. He's a very welcome guest, and he's going to be treated with full honors as befits the head of state of a great power. India, Russia, China, and the US are the four great powers of the world, and two of them are now meeting when President Putin comes to India and meets Prime Minister Modi. So I want to say one thing, and that is, yes, defense cooperation is important. Russians are very, very consistent in their defense equipment supply to India. They don't have the problem which you have with American equipment, that one day some sanction may come, someday some political wind may blow elsewhere, and so as a consequence, supplies are temporarily or even permanently cut off. And that is, let me emphasize the question of peace. Don't forget, in 2022 itself, when the Ukraine war started. In the first few weeks of the Ukraine war, Prime Minister Modi, in the presence of President Putin, said that this is the era of peace. It's not an era of war. So my own view is that President Putin coming will be a very good opportunity for Prime Minister to reinforce his message of peace. And I can tell you one thing very clearly. I think it's very important for Ukraine to ensure that it stops fighting for a simple reason that, this chance of peace in 2022, there was a chance for peace. It was completely rejected by the Ukrainians because of the, persuasion of the Americans and the European. Now the Americans are separate. The Europeans are the only ones who are now pushing this war. But the Prime Minister is definitely certain to mention once again, this is the era of peace. And as someone who has got high regard for Ukrainian people, I would say that the country has suffered enough as a result of this terrible conflict, and they should accept the consequences of it, and they should move on hopefully to a future of prosperity. I am very, very sure that Prime Minister Modi will be talking about peace. Yes, defense is there, no question about it. Russia cooperation technology is there, very important indeed, because technology is a key driver of modern warfare, and victory or defeat can depend on the superiority or otherwise of your technology. But one thing I can be very certain, Prime Minister Modi will either publicly or privately reinforce his message of peace that he gave in 2022. At that point in time, the Ukrainians did not accept it. I think President Putin, in whose presence he gave it, was ready to accept it. And what has happened? Ukrainians have lost more territory. They have suffered horrible casualties. The whole world has been suffering because this Russia-Ukraine war. So I certainly hope that Ukraine grabs at the opportunity offered to it by the mediation of President Trump and opts for peace on the terms, frankly, which the ground reality will basically settle. And that reality is, very frankly, the ground reality is the Russians have only taken over more territory, that the Ukrainians have only lost territory, they've lost lives. And how many lives are going to be sacrificed for this senseless, unwinnable war on the Ukrainian side? So I want to say, I'm very sure our Prime Minister will reinforce his message of peace. I needed to say that because we've all been talking about defense and weapons and everything, but nobody is talking about that very important point made by Prime Minister Modi in the starting weeks of this horrible conflict, that this is the time of peace, the era of peace, not the era of war. And he said that in the presence of Vladimir Putin. So I am very certain that message will also be repeated and will be further reinforced by the Prime Minister. And of course, President Putin will be willing to listen to him and end the conflict on the terms that he's already obviously said, which is basically control of the Donbass. And I think, frankly, rather than have it taken away by force, it is better to cede it in an honorable manner, relatively honorable manner. And I hope and pray that this time the Prime Minister Modi's efforts at peace will succeed, although I very much doubt it, unfortunately, given the drive of Europeans to ensure, the EU, to ensure that this war continues and more Ukrainian lives, more Russian lives are sacrificed. Thank you.
Mr. Nalapat, I'll just take another short question before I let you go, and that's about the procurement of S-400s. Now, is India likely to seek negotiations on that front, given that the systems did exceedingly well in the Operation Sindoor?
Look, S-400 is a formidable defense, no question about it. I think the Russians have perfected an even better defense system, the S-500, and I'm very certain that co-production is probably something which the Russians will eventually agree to, because today Russia has very few friends left in the world who have stood by it through good times and bad times, and these are not the best of times for Russia. India is among that very small and frankly, that ever shortening list of reliable friends of Russia. So I do feel that the Prime Minister is going to make a push for Make in India as well. For example, the BrahMos missile, a formidable weapon, and the missile was made jointly by Russia and by India. I think there's a lot of scope for two countries to work jointly to build up formidable weapon systems and to build up formidable new technologies that, as I said, will make all the difference between winning a war and losing a war. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Nalapat, for joining us here at NewsX World and sharing your opinion. And with that, viewers, let's move on to news from Pakistan, where now we are learning that concerns over former Prime Minister Imran Khan's have been intensifying as the last 24 days have passed without any communication from the jailed leader. Despite official claims that he is in good health, Khan has been denied all court-mandated family and party meetings at Adiala jail, prompting widespread alarm. Khan's final public message has been posted on November 5 after a visit from his sister the previous day, is now under renewed scrutiny. In it, he repeatedly blamed Army Chief Asim Munir for what he called unprecedented oppression, accusing him of ordering mass crackdowns on PTI members and deliberately blocking legal hearings to keep him behind bars. Their years-long rivalry is well known, but Khan has suggested the battle has escalated far beyond personal enmity. He alleged that Pakistan's system has been reshaped to cement Munir's absolute power, noting that even court-ordered weekly meetings were denied after constitutional changes granted the army chief sweeping control and immunity. The silence has fueled fears among Khan's supporters who see ethnic and political dimensions in the confrontation, portraying Munir as threatened by the popularity of the Pathan leader. As rumors grow and the government remains tight-lipped, one question dominates Pakistan's political discourse. If Imran Khan is alive and well, why has no one heard from him in nearly a month? And we would now want to bring in Kaswar Klasra, who's the editor-in-chief at the Islamabad Telegraph in Islamabad. Thank you, Kaswar, for joining us here at NewsX World. Of course, the PTI claims that they have heard no news from Imran Khan in about a month's time. There were also reports of assault of his sisters who went to see him outside the Adiala jail. What exactly is the PTI claiming, and then what is the government's counterclaim? Do you think Asim Munir's elevation to CDF has anything to do with it?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. Let me tell you that Field Marshal Asim Munir is nothing to do with it, because he's just like a disinformation. And let me give you a clear perspective, and that is, according to my sources, he is staying inside Adiala jail. He is very well like a saddle, and he has been languishing in the jail on the court orders, because he was given sentence by the court, not by Asim Munir or the Pakistan's armed forces or even the Prime Minister of Pakistan. The Pakistani courts, let me very clear, Pakistani courts has sentenced former Prime Minister Imran Khan, and he's languishing jail on the court orders. And according to what you have rightly pointed out, during the last 3-4 days, there have been news circulating about his safety and his well-being. But the fact is that anyone, either from Imran Khan's family or the Pakistan or his party, have approached the Pakistani government or even the Adiala jail as well. It is very simple. If somebody is concerned about his health, either from his family or even from his political party, the PTI, the rule is very simple. Just file a petition in the court and seek the clear court orders. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4 people, and we want to meet him, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, just to make sure that how is he doing there in the jail. None from either from the family or from the Pakistan, from his party, the PTI, have approached the court. The facts are the fact. And well, I am giving you news. I am breaking a story, citing my sources that he is doing very well, and he has been meeting everybody, whoever get into the premises of the jail authorities.
How do you confirm that, Kaswar?
Sorry?
How do you confirm that he's doing well? It's only the government advisors that says that, but PTI says that they're not to be trusted at all on this.
Well, this is just disinformation. If can speak to media, if PTI can hold demonstration outside the Adiala jail, then who is stopping them to file a petition in the court just to give clear orders that these are the few people, A, B, C, D, these are the people, and these want to meet Mr. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. It takes just 30 minutes to file a petition in the court to seek clear court orders to meet former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Whoever, according to my sources, whoever get into the premises of the Adiala jail in Rawalpindi, they have been meeting, and there have been meeting in the past as well. So I think this is just tactics by Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf to put pressure on the Pakistani government and just to make the fuss out of it. And there are no credentials to the reports of Imran Khan not being into jail if something bad happened to him. According to my sources, he's doing very well, and he has been meeting his wife once in a week. I'm just breaking it, that he has been allowed to meet his wife, who's also languishing in the same jail, but definitely in another cell as well. And he has been running, he has been walking, he has been doing exercises in the court. This is what sources told me, and I am telling you on a very good authority. He's there in the jail and doing very well. But if a PTI, somebody asked PTI and its workers and its the leaders, if you guys can even spend a whole night outside the Adiala jail, then who is stopping you guys just to file a petition in the court and to get clear order that these are the few people, these are Mr. A, B, C, and these are the 4 people, just to pray to the court that please allow us to have a meeting with the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, because we just want to make sure he's doing very well. But none of either from the family or from the PTI have actually approached the jail authorities or the court to get clear order in this regard. I think this is just, they are just making a push, and actually they are using tactics to put pressure on the Pakistani government, and even the Pakistani government is not taking them seriously.
All right, we'll watch out for that. For now, thanks for joining us, Kaswar, here at NewsX World. And viewers, let's move on to news from Philippines. The International Criminal Court has rejected a plea to release former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte from detention. ICC appeals judges in The Hague ruled Friday that Duterte must remain in custody, dismissing a defense request that argued his age and deteriorating health warranted provisional release. Duterte, who is now 80 years old, was arrested in March and transferred to The Hague in connection with murders linked to his war on drugs. Thousands of alleged drug dealers and users were killed during the crackdown between 2016 and 2022. The ruling applies only to the health-based appeal, meaning Duterte will remain in ICC detention as he awaits a possible trial. His legal team, however, has filed multiple other motions seeking to have the case thrown out entirely. They argue his arrest was unlawful and claim the court lacks jurisdiction because the Philippines withdrew from the ICC in 2019. Jim Rice, who's professor of international law, is now joining us from Philippines, and I extend him a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Rice, here on NewsX World. What's next for this octogenarian former Prime Minister of Philippines? Is the ICC ruling valid given that Philippines made an exit from ICC, and also the fact that his lawyers are to file another plea next week?
Okay, thanks for having me on. Those are really great questions, and it was a really excellent introduction and background to the situation. In answer to your immediate question, I would just like to say that the treaty is very clear, and although the Philippines did withdraw from the ICC treaty, the provision of the treaty is that anything that occurs before remains in force. So, in other words, the ICC has jurisdiction and had jurisdiction on anything that any crimes against humanity that was perpetrated on the people of the Philippines prior to that time. So the ICC's jurisdiction is completely accurate and justified. Hello?
All right. Well, for now, I thank you for joining us here at NewsX World. And viewers, we shift our focus to news from Sri Lanka, where authorities have deployed military troops, helicopters and navy boats to aid rescue operations after floods and landslides killed at least 56 people, with another 21 still missing. The Disaster Management Center said rainfall has intensified, with some areas receiving 360 millimeter in 24 hours. The Kalani River is expected to breach its banks near Colombo, worsening conditions. In response, India has sent emergency aid under Operation Sagar Bandhu, as Indian Prime Minister Modi is extending his condolences to the people of Sri Lanka. The leader has further added that his country is ready to provide further aid as the situation evolves. Authorities expect flood levels to be the worst since 2016, and more rain is forecast. And now we have some breaking news coming in from Hong Kong as far as the high-rise fire is concerned. We are learning that Hong Kong's anti-corruption watchdog announced that it had arrested 8 individuals in connection with the deadly fire at a housing estate that claimed at least 128 lives. The group, which consists of 7 men and 1 woman, includes engineering consultants, scaffolding contractors and an intermediary. The Independent Commission Against Corruption has initiated an investigation into the blaze, which occurred at a residential complex undergoing renovation. And now moving on to Indonesia, where President Prabowo Subianto has announced that his government has quickly mobilized emergency assistance to North Sumatra and West Sumatra after floods and landslides hit the provinces this week, killing more than 300 people. Speaking at a National Teachers' Day event in Jakarta, the president said that officials are coordinating with local governments to speed up relief efforts, though tough terrain and bad weather have made logistics challenging. To help, 3 Hercules transport planes and 1 A400M were deployed, bringing supplies like tents, boats, generators, medicines, and ready-to-eat meals. Medical teams were also sent to support overwhelmed clinics. Prabowo emphasized that airlifts would continue as needed, with previous flights already delivering aid. He also linked the disasters to climate change and urged Indonesians to pray for the victims and strengthen solidarity during the recovery. Let's listen in to what the Indonesian president had to say.
Pemerintah bergerak cepat. Kita dari hari-hari pertama sudah bereaksi, sudah mengirim bantuan dan reaksi melalui jalur darat dan udara. Tetapi memang kondisinya sangat berat, banyak yang terputus, cuaca juga masih tidak memungkinkan. Kadang-kadang juga helikopter dan pesawat kita sulit untuk mendarat.
And that's all time we have for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.